So, I came up with this analogy of how the ego is basically a lie that you tell yourself about who you are, right? That's why they say dissolve the ego and the ego doesn't exist or whatever. And the more I think about it, the more true I think it is, right? Because, like, what are we, right, in the sense of what our ego says we are? Like, what are we, right? Like, dissecting my ego, I guess. I would imagine it's just the events that we went through in our lives and how that constructs the person that we are, right? But I imagine like a coin, right? Imagine you have a typical quarter or whatever, and you flip it, and you flip it like 100 times, and it's all tails, right? It's not likely, but it's possible. And when you look at it, and you can't look at the coin on both sides, and you just see the results, you see like you might say, oh, the coin just has tails on both sides, right? And just assume that's the case, and you move on. But that's just not true, right? You can literally pick up the coin and see that it's heads and tails on both sides. It was just this weird freak occurrence. And that's sort of the way that I see. That's one of the flaws that I see in this understanding of yourself, right? Of this ego building. You're not just this string of tails, right? You're not just what you studied. You're not the grades that you got in class. You're not the clothes that you wear every day. Like, all of these things can change, right? Like, we're not even, we're just, it's also funny. Like, we're not even just the elements that we are, right? If we are what we were from the root of things, we're like exploded elements from stars, right? That's crazy, right? Like, we don't know what we are. It's just easier. It's a shortcut to explain it, right? To say that I'm Eric Chung or whatever. Eric Myung Jin Chung. Um, but yeah. And I'm reminded of the the paradox of ship of Theseus, which is basically, imagine you have the ship of Theseus, and throughout the years, there's wear and tear, and you have to replace the planks. You replace the planks, you replace the hull, you replace everything, the sail, every little bit. And at the end of that, is it the same ship? Is it the same ship even though literally none of it is the same? No, that'd be weird. It can't really be the same ship. Literally none of it's the same, right? So then when does it stop becoming the ship of Theseus? But it just seems arbitrary, right? Halfway point, it just seems sort of arbitrary, right? Like, most of it is still, you switch one plank and now it's the same anymore. That's doesn't make sense. And the thing is, it's arbitrary in the same way that the title, the ship, the name is also arbitrary. And it's like that. Our bodies, apparently the estimate is every 8 years, every single cell in your body is replaced. So you're not by any means of counting, right? You're not the same person as you were 8 years ago. But if you break it down even more, you're not like yesterday. You were an entirely new person than 8 years ago. Then, so then, at what day is it this arbitrary time of 8 years ago, right? And assuming that you have any ability to impact the decisions that you make and the events that you're going to go through in life, you can just be that new person today, right? I think this is sort of important why it sort of highlights the reason why it's important to admit when you're wrong, right? Like, the fragility of your ego that might stop you from, or not you, but some people, not to point fingers, maybe in the political world, like their inability to say that they're just wrong, like, closes the door for 8 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 40 years down the line. And especially when it's wrong about like ideas, your ideas will live on for 100 years down the line, right? Once you close off the ability to be wrong, to say that you're wrong and then grow from that, you will be wrong eventually forever, right? And just like being able to question who you are and what you say and what you do and change it for the better will always lead to something better given like infinite time, right? And we live in this world where our decisions are the way that we live our lives basically go on forever. Like right now, this dumb YouTube video, right? This can live on. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's my video.